Judgment here. It's about a week to go before Diablo 2 Resurrected gets released. I noticed that many other streamers are putting up player builds and advising other players what to do when Diablo 2 Resurrected arrives, and I thought I'd make a video about this from a totally personal perspective. I have resumed playing for about the past 4.5 years, and I have to make decisions about my single player characters and which of them I should take into Diablo 2 Resurrected, because I'm not totally certain that every Diablo 2 player will try and get the new game. Some followers of my stream have no intention of buying Diablo 2 Resurrected, and I have seen the Iceman describe it as a game we don't need, and those are, in my opinion, perfectly valid points of view. I thought I'd give you a bit of history of my single player characters, where they're up to now, and what my first opinion is about what I should do with them. Here's the spreadsheet where I keep their progress, and I thought I'd point out the first 2 or 3 pages of this spreadsheet. It was originally used by Mr. Llama SC and TO1904 for their Magic Find competition. So there's the final result with Mr. Llama winning. But the next page of the spreadsheet shows the drop odds, and I assume these are taken from within the game files of the various items within the game, and it shows TO and Mr. Llama's progress in finding those items. There is another page for set and runes, and there are the runes. This page here shows every item I found while doing 40,000 Pindleskin runs, a project that took me over 2 years. I started doing this project because I wanted to find 6 of the last 7 items in the game. The one I could not find from Pindleskin was Tyrael's Might, but what this showed was every item that I found, and there is on my YouTube channel a summary video of the 40,000 runs. The next page here is one for mercenary attack speeds. I got tired of looking up the attack speeds on the German language calculator website, so I did this summary page for attack speed 20, 10, 0, and then -10 and -20 for Act 2 mercenaries, and then later on I added in some Act 5 mercenaries as well. These ones here from Agnieszka up to Smipel are my single player characters at level 96 and above. Of these 10 characters, 9 of them are at level 96 and 1 of them is at level 98. Agnieszka is a fire sorceress. She was the first character I level up on stream. I did it with gear, and I have to say I regretted that somewhat because many viewers of the stream were quite prepared to watch a self-found character progress through the game. Figure you can see here, the 28% is the progress towards level 97. Bludger was one of 2 Immortal King Barbarians that I played through the game. For some strange reason I wasn't happy with the first one, so I did it again. So Bludger up to about level 83 was using the Immortal King set, but when I wanted to establish a pit running barbarian, I started him at level 83, moved him up to level 92, and at that point I respect him as a conventional pit zerker. I played him from level 92 to level 94 as a pit zerker, but I found the playing style basically boring. So at level 94 I respect him as a frenzy barb and continued to play in the pit. But one member of my stream, Olej Piskorski, gave me another frenzy barb build that enabled me to tackle Bale and even the physical immunes in the ancient tunnels if I chose to do so. And he's been that way basically from levels 95 up to level 96. Ermin is a wind druid. Again, I played him through the game as a self-found character on this occasion, I have to say, of the characters that I've moved up to level 96, and I did 3 of them more or less at the same time, Ermin was probably the least rewarding. I still find the aiming of the tornadoes to be extremely frustrating. Though with good enough gear, he seems to cope with the game quite well. Merida is a Boazon. Probably the slowest to level up to 96, but I have to say that playing a Boazon and just keeping the character alive is a sufficient challenge to keep me interested. I was able to play her through all 3 levels without a death, but it was a feat of concentration to do so. Nereza is a Traps Assassin. I'm not certain how far I will take her into level 97 because she is a character that has trouble killing Bale. While she clears other areas with quite thorough speed, her ability against Bale and the real experience giving axe is not as good as some of the other characters. Pius is a Griswold set Paladin, mostly with points in Zeal. Since I started playing this character, I've enjoyed playing melee characters more probably than I've ever done, and this is a character I may well move into Diablo 2 Resurrected for reasons I will explain later. Raxka is a Lightning Javazon. Again, I played her through the game with gear and again regretted it afterwards, but she has now hit level 96, and of the single player characters I've got is probably the fastest to kill Bale and the preceding waves, and therefore is a real candidate to go on to level 97. Chocolat was probably the first new character that I played through the game once I resumed playing in February 2017, though I did not start streaming the game until about September, October of that year. Despite the fact that all she does now is pretty much run lower Cuirassed, of the 96 to 97 characters, she is the furthest progressed. She was originally a Talrasha Lightning Sorceress, but I respect her as a Blizzard Sorceress following some advice from Future Eel, purely to run Pindleskin. But I'm thinking to progress from 96 to 97. Perhaps we may respec her as a Talrasha set Lightning Sorceress. Smipel is a Hamadon, and again we played him through the game as a Zealer. The name Smipel comes from a smiter using the Disciple set, which may not even be a viable build, but that's what I had in mind when I realised that the Disciple set leaves the weapon and shield unoccupied. Probably the most overall powerful single player character I have, and can play in virtually any area. Even magic immunes can be taken on with Holy Bolt. This is the character I am using to run for keys in Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction. And yes, they do drop in Lord of Destruction. My oldest character is Sigma the Bone Necromancer, established in about October of 2003, and through numerous computer changes and reinstalls of the game, I've been able to keep the character files for this and all my mule characters up and going, so Sigma is about 20% of the way to level 99. I've never really felt the urge to try and get a character to level 99, and if it happens, it happens. Even after all these years, or perhaps because of the fact that the game conditioned my mental response to some extent, I still find playing Bone Necromancer probably the most interesting playing style of all. I have to make a choice as to which of these characters I would like to bring forward into Diablo 2 Resurrected. So let's have a look at one, and let's have a look at some of the considerations that I'll have to make. This is Agnieszka the Fire Sorceress, the first character I played through the game on stream. I won't go through all the gear, however I will mention the things here that I think may have to be taken into account if I move this character into Diablo 2 Resurrected. Her current cast rate with this gear on is 50, 70, 90, 110, 120, 130. And I have to say I think that's an excellent ring for level 13. The point is that she can pass the 105 breakpoint with that amulet on or off. So I often use that amulet there for increased magic find, or that one there for running Mephisto, which has been her main purpose since she hit level 96. Let's assume I could get an Annihilus Charm and a Hellfire Torch for Sorceress. That would give me an increase in resistances and attributes to the point where I could probably have to respec the character. I've always enjoyed the Wizard Spike Bone Knife, but I think Heart of the Oak there would be a better choice. But I would drop 10% cast rate and a minimum of 35 in resistances. So if I take that off, I wouldn't need the amount of dexterity it requires. I would gain a lot of skills if I could put Heart of the Oak there and a Hellfire Torch and a Nihilist Charm in the stash. I'd have to say that if I could get a Hellfire Torch and a Nihilist Charm, I would probably respec this character, bring her into Diablo 2 Resurrected, and try and progress towards level 97. Now there are similar considerations that have to be made for all the characters. So I'm going to go through each of the characters and give you a quick opinion on whether I think I ought to bring them into Diablo 2 Resurrected. So Agnieszka the Fire Sorceress, I'd say yes, but it will require respecking and different gear. Bludger the Barbarian, and this is a character I will probably not initially bring into Diablo 2 Resurrected. I'll give you the reason why. Bludger's main purpose is to run the pit. The last remaining item I have to find in the game is Tyrael's Might. I consider the Pit Barbarian to be the most likely character to find that item, and for me there is a personal attraction in trying to find every item in the game in Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction. I have no doubt there are players who have found every item in the game in unmodified Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, but all of the players that I've seen who have found every item in the game have been using game mods such as Pluggy. And to me there is a personal attraction in just trying to complete every item in the game with no game mods. Now that has implications for streaming. I would like to stream Diablo 2 Resurrected. I would also like to be able to stream this character running Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction. I don't know if Twitch will allow me to swap between the two games during a stream, particularly the stream label. He also has an Enigma. I swap it between a number of characters. I am fortunate to have other mage plates, one of them I think with a full 15% enhanced defense but no extra durability, in which I can make another Enigma, and I do have sufficient Jar and Burr runes to make that extra Enigma and move that into Diablo 2 Resurrected on other characters. There are some followers of my stream who do not intend to play Diablo 2 Resurrected, and another attraction is to keep this character in Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction to keep some measure of faith with them. Ermin the Wind Druid, if I wish to get him to level 97, I said it wasn't fun getting him to level 96. He already uses Heart of the Oak. Here is a character for which I would make another Enigma, but like Agnieszka the Fire Sorceress, I would consider that the addition of the Torch and the Charm would mean respecking the character to make him more powerful. Merit of the Boazon I would bring into Diablo 2 Resurrected, but again we could keep this character quite happily in Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction and try and progress her towards level 97, but I can't see how I'm going to improve her gear all that much, and it would be a long time to get her to level 97. Nereza the Traps Assassin is a character I would like to bring to Diablo 2 Resurrected, and I'll mention her in conjunction with another one, and that is Raxka the Lightning Javazon. These are the two characters whom I would like to see use the rune word Infinity. At one stage I thought one game mod I might try would be the rune word mod, so I have set aside runes for a number of ladder rune words. There is Ammon, Lem, Ko for Lawbringer. Fal, Ohm, Ort, Jar gives the rune word Famine. I have set aside the runes Bur, Mal, Bur, Ist for Infinity, and there for example is a 4-socket Thresher in which I could make the rune word Infinity. There is a 4-socket Giant Thresher that would do just as well. There are the runes Eth, Tur, Lo, Mal, Ral for Grief. Now that's a big decision in my opinion. Bludger uses an ethereal Breath of the Dying, but I certainly have members of my stream who will not use Grief because they consider it to be so ridiculously overpowered it ruins the game to some extent. I'm not certain I'll be able to keep that temptation at bay, and at some stage I assume I'll have to give grief a try. I'll mention the two Paladins, Pious and Smipel, in another context in a moment. Chocolat is currently a Blizzard sorceress, but for interest in the game I'd probably prefer to respec her as a Talrashal lightning sorceress if I choose to move her onto level 97. The two Paladins I have, we are currently looking at Smipel, are both characters whom I would like to bring into Diablo 2 Resurrected. I have been using this character to run for keys. I'll show you in a moment that keys do drop in unmodified single player.
I shall keep my
I have established two characters for keys. I now have 7 complete sets, and unfortunately on my very last run at Nilithak he dropped 2 keys, which means I now have an imbalance. Now in running for keys I find the Summoner is easy to get to and easy to defeat. Nilithak is more awkward to get to, but is so hard to defeat that I regard it as challenging gameplay. And when I set out to run for keys, it was the first time I had tackled Nilithak for a long time. The Countess I find unquestionably the most boring, teleporting down through 5 layers of the tower and then defeating the Countess to try and get keys. I don't find all that stimulating, so I tend to run the Countess for keys, and when I have 3 from the Countess, then I start running the Summoner and Nilithak. We are back here with Smipel the Hamadon. I picked out the Stone of Jordan ring here because I'm thinking that in Diablo 2 Resurrected, as I've already said, some characters would benefit from having the Annihilus Small Charm, and in Diablo 2 Resurrected we can generate the Pandemonium event by selling 1 Stone of Jordan to a vendor. I've had a look at all my unique rings, and in all the years I've been playing I've found 6 Stones of Jordan. Now, to generate the keys necessary to take on Yuba Tristram, all you need to do is run the Summoner, Nilithak and the Countess. And in my opinion, having to sell a Stone of Jordan to generate Pandemonium event Diablo is a much more severe restriction than generating keys. So my most likely solution is to sell 1 Stone of Jordan with my most powerful character in the game, probably a respec smiter, after having gained an appropriate Paladin torch, and hopefully defeating Pandemonium event Diablo and sharing the Annihilus Small Charm generated between each of the characters I would then bring into Diablo 2 Resurrected, and I would simply put the Annihilus Small Charm in the shared stash. Some of the new content that I'm going to enjoy in moving from Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction to Diablo 2 Resurrected will be 1, the ability to make ladder rune words, and secondly the chance to take on the Yuba Tristram characters, and as I've already shown you I've been running for keys with Smipel the Paladin. It raises the question of which character I should use to take on the Yubas. My Hamadon here, and this is without battle orders, does have level 17 smite, has virtually no crushing blow. This is Pious, my Griswold set Paladin. He has only level 9 smite, but he has 9, 29 and 15 makes 44 crushing blow, and we can add another burr rune into the unoccupied socket in this weapon to get a total of 64% crushing blow. However, I have to say that I will probably do a respec of one of these characters, most likely this one, to take on Yuba Tristram. On the subject of respecing, I thought I'd show people just how many respecs I could do if I have the option. I store tokens of absolution and the essences from which they are made on armor characters because there's always some spare space at the bottom of each character. So these are incomplete tokens of absolution, and in particular I'm missing them from either Diablo or Mephisto. I'm just going to close the characters down, and you can see there's the first of the complete tokens. And you can see as I close these characters down, there's a character full of essences that can be made into complete tokens. And as we get to these later characters, each one has 10 tokens of absolution and another 3 tokens ready to be made from the component essences. And there's the last one there. So you can see I have a large number of respecs at my disposal, and hopefully I'll be able to find a suitable combination of skills and gear to tackle Uber Tristram. Apart from bringing in previous characters into the new game, there's also the possibility of establishing new characters. I don't really know what character I would establish first in Diablo 2 Resurrected, but one I have in mind is a dual running sorceress who will only complete normal level and hopefully generate a good map for Lower Karast and spend her time collecting jewels from the chest there. I do a lot of crafting and the problem is I cannot keep up the number of jewels. This is Chippy, my sorceress, whom I started in Act 5 and brought back to Act 1 in normal level for no purpose than to run 4 gem shrines. And you can see here she has a number of flawless gems waiting to be upgraded. Since she can only access normal level, her map is fixed. I don't know in Diablo 2 Resurrected if you import new players whether they'll bring their maps with them. Now for certain circumstances that might be rather important. I would like to be able to reset the map in normal level without necessarily progressing to nightmare level to do so. However, this was done by the speedrunners by using the TCP/IP game function within Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, and that has been removed for Diablo 2 Resurrected. If I leave Bludge the Pit Barbarian in Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, I won't have a Frenzy Barb in Diablo 2 Resurrected, so there's another option. And another character I've never played is a Bear Druid. So one of those 3 characters looks likely to be my first new character in Diablo 2 Resurrected. So just some final thoughts on transferring characters from one game to the other. It should be possible to run the characters in both games. So for example, the Pit Barbarian, his character files I could take across to the new game and have that character running in both games, but I don't consider that to be quite ethical. It would in effect mean duplicating the Enigma armor and his gear in between the 2 games. And as I have already said, I'd prefer to leave the Pit Barbarian in Lord of Destruction and have entirely new gear in Diablo 2 Resurrected, provided that no duplicate existed in Lord of Destruction. I would envisage a gradual transition of my characters from one game to the other. I have an Ethereal Chains of Honor in Lord of Destruction, but it might be the case in Diablo 2 Resurrected that an Ethereal Fortitude would be a better mercenary armour. Probably my first step will be, when Diablo 2 Resurrected becomes available, is to simply store all of my old characters somewhere independent of the game storage, so I can at least have some measure of what my characters were when Diablo 2 Resurrected becomes available. I am hoping the transition to Diablo 2 Resurrected will be a smooth and painless progress, though I've been advised by one player on my stream to make my first character a new one to avoid any bugs or other possibilities that the game may throw up. Remember, the game has not been tested in either Nightmare or Hell level. So this has been something of a personal ramble through my ideas to approach the new game, and I'm assuming there are many other single player streamers who will find themselves in a similar position and will be wondering what to do with their current characters. I have outlined my own approach, and I hope this is of benefit to other players.